So I want to start here by introducing the idea of paradigms, okay, as understanding this is the first step to doing deep work and getting to the cause, as opposed to simply fiddling around with the effects. So paradigms are basically the different maps or frameworks that we all have inside our heads through which we contextualize the world. Okay, you can think of them as different lenses through which we view the world. They affect the way we perceive, understand, interpret, and filter life, if you will. Now, what's interesting is that we're usually unaware that we have them. Okay, and this is big, and this is the first thing I really want you to realize here. We think that we see things objectively, that we see things as they are. Right now, I'm looking at you, I'm looking at a camera. Here's a light, here's a whiteboard, here's a computer. I mean, this is the world. Everyone sees it like this. I have a very objective view on things. This is how it is. But that's not the case, okay? You don't see the world as it is, but as you're conditioned to see it. Remember that. You don't see the world as it is, but as you're conditioned to see it. From the moment you're born, from the moment you're thrown into this world, you are being blasted with all this information just coming from all angles, okay? During your upbringing, from your family, your friends, school, work, the media, the news, the internet, social media, movies, TV, music, okay? Like all this information is just being blasted at you, and whether you're aware of it or not, it shapes the way you perceive the world, okay? It shapes the paradigms through which you filter life. Okay, and another one too, by the way, are the already pre-existing paradigms. So we think, oh, we have a very objective view of things. Bullshit. Okay, from the moment you come into this world, it's similar to, I have these now popular blue light blocking glasses. It's as if someone puts these glasses on. You come into the world, baby, bang, glasses. And this is now how you see things. And because it's always been like this, you're not even aware that you're wearing the glasses. It's crazy. It's similar to me with a 3 out of 10 baseline. Because it's always been this way, I wasn't even aware of it. The same thing here. We're like, oh, we have a very objective view of things. No. Okay, we're conditioned to the point that we don't even know that we're conditioned. So this is the first thing I want you to realize here. Okay, let it sink in. The second thing, and this one's huge, is that we almost never question how accurate they are. Okay, what if you were given the wrong map, the wrong framework? Someone gave you glasses that didn't work. What if you were entrenched in a paradigm that's built on a false assumption? And this here changes everything. Okay, so we're unaware that we view things through these paradigms, that we view the world through these lenses, and we never question how accurate they are. So I want you to view it like this, okay? To simplify things, there are two basic paradigms. The first is a paradigm that's built on the assumption that your default, okay, your baseline, if you will, is abundance, or 10 out of 10. The other paradigm is built on the assumption that your default is scarcity, or for example, 3 out of 10. You can also say happiness, unhappiness, happiness with a capital H. Here it's the state, not the emotion. Being complete, being incomplete, being enough, not being enough. These are the original assumptions, if you will, and it's from these assumptions that all of our attitudes, behaviors, actions flow. Okay, basically everything. It's these original assumptions, these two here, that generate the paradigms that we operate in. There's the abundance paradigm and the scarcity paradigm. Okay, there's the abundance classes, the scarcity classes. And if you want to find out which pair you have on right now, you can either do the exercise that we did in the first video, where you bring some awareness inside your body and start being aware of the different sensations going on and rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. Or you can simply ask yourself, what happens if I do nothing? If I stop whatever I'm doing right now, if I stop trying to improve myself, if I stop trying to be more confident, if I stop hustling, if I stop trying to be successful, if I stop trying to make money, if I stop seeking validation, if I just do nothing, do I fall into scarcity or drift into abundance, or realize that I'm there, nothing happens? And unfortunately, as I mentioned before, due to the way that we're conditioned, from the moment you're thrown into this world, we're all assuming scarcity. We're all just passing on the scarcity glasses to everyone just coming into this world, assuming scarcity, assuming unhappiness, assuming not being enough, assuming being incomplete, not being that 10 out of 10. And this here, as you will see, is the source of all our misery. This is, the birth of the ego, if you will, the birth of self-hate, of escapism, of self-abandonment, self-sabotage, chronic stress, health problems, you name it, okay? And it's the reason that nothing we really do here seems to ever truly work, and it's never permanent, it never sticks. Right now, most likely in your journey of personal development, you've put in a lot of effort, and you might have gotten some results, but are they really the results you wanted? Did it really affect, for example, that baseline? My guess is no, and they're not permanent. They require effort to maintain, okay? And unless we take perspective, unless we take the glasses off and realize this, and question the paradigms that we're operating in, and the assumptions that they're built on, we'll never get to the cause, because everything that we do will simply be fiddling with the effects. Okay? And this is why most solutions are simply band-aids over a larger problem. It's surface level work, and it's endless and compulsive. If you take the human condition, for example, where we're all trying to reach abundance, we're all trying to reach this 10 out of 10, but we're trying to reach abundance while assuming scarcity. We're seeking abundance in the scarcity paradigm. And that's why we never get there. That's why nothing we do ever truly works, because no matter what you do, it's an effect of assuming scarcity. They are two different paradigms. You get there by dropping this paradigm here. If you think of personal development, improving yourself, most of us were assuming we're not improved to begin with, so we work on improving ourselves. We work on becoming more confident. What is that assuming? You're not confident to begin with. Anything you do in this paradigm is just going to keep reinforcing that original assumption of not being confident. Another example is, I love this one, hustle and motivation. This one's big now. So you got to hustle, motivate, develop willpower. And you're like, yeah. But what original assumption is that reinforcing? That you don't have that to begin with. That your default, if you will, is you're not motivated. You're a lazy piece of shit and you got to work on motivation. So you're trying to hustle and get this willpower, hoping to reach maybe someday long-lasting, effortless motivation, but you never get there because everything that you do is reinforcing the assumption that you're not motivated to begin with. And it doesn't matter what you tweak in here, all these things are simply the effects of this assumption. Okay? What we're seeking, the reason we don't get it is because it's in a different paradigm. To get there, we need to take the fucking glasses off. And this is also something, by the way, that Stephen Covey talks about in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I love the example he gives. He says that if you're in Chicago, for example, and someone gives you a map of Detroit. Here's a map of Detroit. Go find your way around. It doesn't matter how much you work on your behavior, like becoming more positive. There's one, I'm going to be more positive. Have a much more positive outlook. I'll never complain. It doesn't matter how hard you work at it. I'm just going to hustle my way to figure out this map and figure out my way to where I'm going. It doesn't matter how much you work on your attitude, on your beliefs, all the affirmations, or how much you meditate. Guess what? Nothing's going to work because you have the wrong fucking map. Okay? So remember this. This is huge. As long as you're operating in a certain paradigm, you will not find a way out. And anything you do in that paradigm will simply reinforce the original assumption from which everything grows. okay? If you're, if you're assuming you need to be improved, anything you do to improve yourself will reinforce that, the fact that you're not improved to begin with. If you're assuming you're not naturally motivated, anything you do to be motivated will reinforce you're not naturally motivated to begin with, okay? Any direction we take to get away from something is the continuation of that thing. And not just that, but the more you invest in it too. If someone gives you, for example, that map of Detroit and you're in Chicago, and say you've spent 30 years trying to find your way around Chicago with the map of Detroit, and someone comes up to you, shows you a video, and they're like, hey, you got the wrong map. Wrong map, that's Detroit, throw it away. Are you just gonna be like, thank you, and just toss it? Fuck no. You've spent 30 years investing in this map, just obsessing over it. There's that energy, there's probably part of your identity that's attached to it. You're not gonna wanna be like, I've made a mistake, let me toss this and acknowledge that I've wasted all this energy, all this time with the wrong map. You're gonna be very invested and very attached to it. You're not gonna wanna let go of it. So it's kind of like quicksand, You're stuck in a paradigm, and the more time you spend, the more you do in this paradigm, keeps reinforcing the original assumption, and the more you invest and the less you want to drop it, okay? You become addicted to it, and in a lot of cases, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, where basically, you're gonna start seeking out evidence, and this usually happens unconsciously, but you're gonna start seeking out evidence to reinforce that original assumption, to reinforce that paradigm, okay? And it doesn't matter how obscure the evidence is, you're gonna try to find it, and you're going to ignore evidence of the contrary. An example I love with this, this is one my friend Owen talks about all the time, is say he was getting into a cab, he was getting out of a cab. And it was one of those cab drivers that's extremely negative and extremely grumpy. It's like, that's all you'll get. The paradigm that cab driver is operating in that particular situation is, I'm very negative, I'm mad, I'm pissed off, et cetera, et cetera. And Owen, just for fun, was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna see, because it's an experiment he likes to do, I'm gonna see if this guy will take, for example, a $20 tip. So he arrives at his destination, he's like, hey, here's $20, thank you, have a great day. And the cab driver just takes it and like refuses the $20. Okay, why? I mean, it's $20, why would you not take the $20? It's like, why? Because taking that $20 wouldn't reinforce that paradigm that he's in, where he's just very negative, very angry, and he's invested probably a lot of time and energy in that. You can probably relate if you're extremely mad and someone comes up with good news, you don't want to hear the good news at that moment in time. You're just going to keep looking for other reasons to be pissed off. Even if, and I can relate to this, you get mad, and let's just say you find out that the reason you're mad, like you get really fucking mad, and you find out the reason you're mad, there's actually no reason to be mad at all. It was just a simple, misunderstanding. You're not just going to switch to, okay, let me drop this, and be like, no, but still, and find all these other reasons to keep being mad. And that's what happens with paradigms. You're coming to this world, here are the glasses of scarcity. The more you operate, the more you reinforce the glasses, the thicker they become, and the more invested you are, to the point where you don't even want to take them off anymore. You're not even aware that they're there, and unconsciously you're seeking out evidence to keep reinforcing that your default is not 10 out of 10, okay? And the key here, as I mentioned, is to, bring some awareness to it, which we're doing, and to take a step back, take some perspective, and examine the paradigms and the assumptions that they're built on, and ultimately, you gotta drop this, okay? You need to rethink the obvious, because again, it's been there for so long, it seems so obvious, but you gotta rethink it, let go of it. This example is so overplayed, I hate using it, but this is literally like Neo in the fucking Matrix, okay? Right now, you're in the Matrix, you need to shift paradigms completely, and what this means in terms of the journey is that this is primarily an inner journey, okay? Getting to the cause is getting to that place deep inside of you, that default, that original assumption, you at a core fucking level, because that'll affect everything that flows from that. If you don't start with the cause, if you don't start with that assumption, you're simply going to be fiddling around with the effect, okay? That experience you have of yourself, That is the source of everything. Without changing this, you can't transform yourself. You can't really transform your life. This is an inside-out approach, if you will. And this isn't something that we're used to doing. We're so focused on, being aware of like the external, rearranging the external. If things don't go our way, we're like, how can I change all of this? And again, we're just fiddling around with the effects. Nothing gets the cause. It's similar to, say you have your hand, you put it over a fire. Okay, your hand's over a fire. You're like, whoa, I'm hot. What you're gonna do is instead of examining, whoa, why is my hand over the fucking flames, and just move it, you'd be like, whoa, let me put a Band-Aid, let me pour some water, let me put some ice. That's what we're doing. That's what we're used to doing. So this is a new kind of approach, not about rearranging the external, okay, hoping that will in turn affect the internal. It's the other way around. It's our internal models that create our external reality, okay? If you take someone, for example, who's extremely negative, it doesn't matter what environment you place that person in, that person is gonna keep finding reasons to be negative. You need to start with why is that person negative in the first place? It all comes from the internal. If someone's afraid all the time, that's gonna color the external. And that person's gonna see all these scary things. If someone's angry all the time, that's going to color the external, and that person is going to see chaos and frustration everywhere. Okay? The quality of your life is determined by how you're experiencing things within yourself. And this is why, if you cultivate abundance, you will see it everywhere and generate it everywhere. And that's the beauty, is once you get to the cause, you get to that 10 out of 10, it'll also become a self-fulfilling prophecy. You just keep reinforcing and generating abundance. And again, you can't even imagine the fucking possibilities. Okay, so let go of the external. That's simply the effect. It'll only reinforce the cause. We need to take a different approach here, an inner approach, where we just start with that assumption here. And one last thing too is, no matter how invested you are in tweaking all of this, if the answer was out there, if it was in rearranging the external, don't you think you would have found it? I mean, at this point, we've tried fucking everything. We are the most comfortable generation in history, yet we're the most unhappy. We're the most scared, like shitty baseline, like shitty state of being ever. Okay, so let's stop beating around the fucking bush. Let's get to the cause. And this here is what changed my life. It's realizing this, like, whoa, fuck fiddling around with the effects. Let's get to the cause. Let's take these glasses off. Like, whoa, what glasses do I have on? What's going on here? You take the glasses off, you suddenly step into an entirely new way of being.